Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Tuesday. It is the Earthmaster here about it's August 13, 2024, about 10:05 a.m. here, local time in California. Latest activity here on the globe shows a 3.1 around the Philippines area, it looks like, and also some movement in California with a little small microquake being reported here. So let's take a look here at the earthquake activity that's been happening across the last 24 hours. Of course, yesterday, Los Angeles seeing that earthquake shaking things up down here around the Pasadena area. Actually, this earthquake here was felt all over Southern California. 4.4 magnitude earthquake coming into this area yesterday. As you can see, the felt reports here being felt all the way up to Bakersfield and all the way down to San Diego. And quite a few folks reporting that earthquake as being stronger than a 4.4. So what we do have here is a little bit of aftershock activity following this event. The majority of these from last night. We did have one more aftershock this morning, early in the morning, 4 o'clock a.m. for a 1.6. So a lot less earthquake activity, at least aftershock sequences, than what we had seen with this 5-pointer up here near Bakersfield about a week or so ago. They're still seeing aftershock activity in this area, but definitely a little bit less than I would expect here for a 4.4 earthquake. So still kind of keeping an eye on this area, maybe for some further movement. The regions up north here, there's a Bakersfield activity. Still seeing some 2s and 1s out here. That's an overall sign of regional stress out here against the plate boundary, as expected, right? Got quite a bit of stress. Over here around the Ridgecrest area, a couple smaller earthquakes as well, mainly in the 1 and 2 range. And a handful of smaller quakes on the North American side here of the plate boundary today. It's going to be these little small quakes here near San Bernardino Mountains. Aside from that, the San Andreas Fault here sleeps for now, but that won't be the case in the future for sure. Up north of Lake Tahoe, a couple smaller quakes from last night and early this morning. Nothing big, just a 2.2 and some other smaller quakes there in that area. Pacific Northwest, got a mosquito in here. Pretty quiet, aside from a couple smaller quakes. By the way, tremor map last night showed about 342 epicenters here of tremor into the Cascadia subduction zone, mainly up here across the Washington area. So nothing big going on there for now. Let's see, Yellowstone National Park, smaller earthquakes being reported today, a couple 1s. And let me double check that here real quick. See why, oops, let's go back here. Check out the seismos here. The recorded seismograph stations, that is. Some wind events from yesterday there in the dark blue. A couple smaller spikes of an earthquake there in the last 24 hours and in the last couple hours as well. It looks like that's going to be those quakes this morning, potentially. That was at about 8 o'clock my time, so that'd be around 7 local time there, mountain time, so about 7:47 for that 1.2. As you can see, there's not a whole lot going on there across Yellowstone National Park for now. Oil fields out here in Texas and New Mexico getting hit slightly. That includes areas down here southeast of San Antonio and up into Oklahoma as well. The New Madrid seismic zone is quiet. Got one little earthquake outside that area last night at 2.5 there in northern Arkansas. And looks like a little bit of movement out in New Jersey here. 1.6. This is the area that had seen some earthquake activity earlier this year. Occasionally we'll still see a little microquake pop up there in that region. All right, Hawaii, let's go ahead and zoom in here, see what we got for Hawaii today. A little bit more active out here across the Kilauea volcano from the summit area off to the middle east rift zone here. I'm going to check this out real quick and see what we got for the latest activity today, where the volcano is still sitting at a yellow and advisory. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity, a couple smaller spikes, but you can see that there on the seismograph stations. There really nothing of any major concern for now, but we do have that little migration. You can follow it there on the path leading off into this location here, where there's still a handful, at least specifically over there across the Middle East Rift Zone, some more spikier earthquakes here, at least readings on the graph, excuse me, indicating some very small microquakes, but there's a bunch of them out there. And it seems to be confined just generally to this area right around here. Not a whole lot has changed here on the tilt meter. Quick glance at that shows fairly level and consistent readings here on the tilt graph. Deformation data across the summit area should looks about the same as well. Really no major change here, just kind of an odd deal taking place here across Kilauea Volcano. Of course, we've seen that magma displacement recently from the summit off to the upper East Rift Zone, where it's been slow. It seems like it's been slowly migrating over here over a long period of time, but no real sign of an eruption yet. Just a little waiting game out there. Here's an image from the summit region. Kilauea looks quiet. There's always going to be some volcanic gases here, some steam and whatnot around the edges. That's been doing that for quite a while. Nothing has changed here, but it looks like a beautiful blue clear sky. Just about 7 o'clock in the morning there, sun coming up on the big island of Hawaii. All right, backing out of here. Let's see what else we got. Anything major going on worldwide? 5.1 in Papua New Guinea this morning, it looks like. Not a big earthquake at all. Look at the earthquake 3D globe here. See if anything new is standing out today. New Zealand calming down a little bit there. Still got an older 3.1 from yesterday. There's that shallow adjustment here that just came in recently into the Papua New Guinea area. Mixed bag of deep quakes here to the west along the plate boundary and also over here to the east. So looks like things are amplifying here across this area. Man, look at that super deep earthquake. That 3.9, is that right? 750 kilometers deep. I think that's the max that it can go here on the earthquake 3D globe. So if that's legit, that's a crazy deep earthquake. Goodness. And Syria over there got a couple more earthquakes following yesterday's 5-pointer. Some force stirring up in this area, and regionally quite active across this area in the last 24 hours. So keep an eye on that region. Iceland looks like they're having a couple earthquakes out there in the south area of the rift zone. So let's go see what we have here real quick. Let's see. Oh yeah, goodness, wow. Quite a bit of swarming going on here across this area of Iceland. That's southwest of Grindavik here, and more so down south as well along the further rift boundaries where they had a 3-pointer. 3-pointer it looks like. Let me grab a drink here real quick. I think it's the cooler mornings that we've been getting out here. It's nice to get up early and experience the cooler temperatures before they get hot, but I don't think I'm used to it yet. So look at that. That's a lot of earthquake activity here in a short amount of time. This is past 12 hours. And up here around the Savartsingi area, still seeing some movement as well. Let's see if we got any updates from those guys up at the Icelandic Met Office, because that is a lot of earthquake activity. Goodness. This update was put out today. The measurements here show similar signs as for the last eruptions in the crater series. Deformation and seismic activity show similar signs as before the last volcanic eruption in the craters. The volume of magma underneath the Savartsingi area is estimated at over 20 million cubic meters, so that has highly surpassed the previous eruption accumulation level. Yeah, goodness. Here's the earthquake multitudes here. Of course, we're noticing an increase there in seismic activity, which could lead to an eruption here at any minute. And our latest inflation event here. Look at this. This last red one shows how much volume of magma has been accumulated there, about 20 million cubic meters. And this is the previous levels here. Notice, some of those were fairly short, but we're way up here now in terms of volume of magma accumulated underneath this area. And with this reading today that we're seeing some elevated activity down south here of the immediate area of interest, this could go soon in terms of seeing another eruptive fissure event out here take place. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that throughout the day today, because look at that, there's a lot of activity. And of course, normally we'll see this type of event take place leading up to further increasing activity there across the Svartsengi area, which is this region in Iceland that's seen the last couple eruptions there, last few eruptions outside the Blue Lagoon and the Svartsengi power plant, Grindavik here. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. Space weather activity, well, it died down pretty quickly there following a G4 class storm, not last night, but the night before. Goodness, I've seen a lot of auroras down to some lower latitude states once again, but as noted here, dropped back down to about normal conditions here, KP index of around 1.5. So things are no longer storming out there in terms of the auroras. Sunspots, still quite a few of them, and there's a couple large ones currently facing the Earth. We do have a 25% chance for X flare, M flare at 75, and C flare around 99% chance or so. And there's definitely a number of sunspots out here. This region right here is looking quite dynamic. It's starting to get some very deep colors here, center core, also around it as well, and that's currently facing the Earth. So if anything blasts off from this area, it should be almost certainly geo-effective. This region over here across the eastern or western limb, is heading off pretty quickly, and it will be out of sight, out of mind here in the coming hours and days. So right now, the main area to watch definitely going to be this region right here. As far as any further auroras for tonight, maybe the next couple nights, well, if you didn't get a chance to check out the auroras last night and the night before, it might be a little bit again before we have that G4 class storm material pop up. They weren't really forecasting a G4, but it all goes along with how the BZ component there is pointing. And during the storming there, a couple nights, last night and the night before, that BZ component was way tipped south and allowing for a lot of the amplification of the auroras. But tonight, not so much. I mean, there's a little bit, Alaska, Canada area. Probably not going to see a whole lot here down into the northern tier states, but that is the forecast here for tonight and tomorrow night. We'll have to wait and see what the sun has in store for some as far as further CME activity goes, and ultimately leading to auroras if it's Earth directed. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's about it here for the sun activity. Storm Prediction Center for severe weather shows a just a little slight risk here across areas of Nebraska, Colorado, and portions of extreme northwest Kansas here. That's mainly due to looks like some wind. A little bit of wind out there for your Tuesday. I don't mind the wind, but that could be a little damaging wind gusts out there from that thunderstorm activity. Aside from that, just general thunderstorms scattered out and about. Far as the tropical systems out here, let's see what we got. We're going to check out a map here and go over here to the North American map. This would be good. Watching this low pressure trough out here, some type of tropical system that will turn into eventually a hurricane. Notice right here, it runs across Puerto Rico here as it's developing, and then makes its way further to the north. A very sharpward turn, and as of right now, it might make major hurricane status here before Maybe clipping portions of the extreme northeast up here. But that's a ways out still. That's on the 19th of August. In about 6 days, anything can change. But the weather models have been fairly consistent with this thing getting caught up here in the patterns and staying away from the east coast here, which is good news. And after that, really not seeing anything of major interest out here in terms of any tropical systems entering into the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, we're just getting into the peak of the hurricane season. Let's hope that things stay quiet for now. Massive high pressure out there across the eastern Pacific. Going to keep us here on the west coast high and dry and warm. Only supposed to be 92 today. I'll take that over. We've had nothing but hundreds, and July was one of the hottest months I ever recall out here. 110, 115 degrees, day in, day out. It really drags on one's not only their mindset, but their livelihood. The weather does affect moods, and boy, does it affect me. I'm not a big fan of the heat anymore. I say bring on the wintertime. Bring on some cooler, much cooler, rainier weather would be nice. All right, let's see here. Seismograph stations out here are all calm and quiet for now. Of course, we'll be monitoring all the earthquake activity, and whenever there's big events out here, we normally are one of the first channels to go live and, of course, get updates on any earthquake activity out here. So been pretty consistent with this for quite a few years now, and we will continue to do so here for the future. Have a good Tuesday, folks, and make sure you guys subscribe while you're here. Click that notification bell so you can get notified when we go live, and also when important updates are put out here on the channel with regards to space weather, earthquake activity, and anything earth science out here of noteworthy value. Have a good day, folks. Stay safe out there.